Sasha Jones was no stranger to bizarre cases. As a licensed therapist specializing in trauma, she had seen it all, or so she thought. When she glanced at the profile of her latest client, Lucas Porter, a chill crept down her spine. 12 days without sleep? It seemed impossible, and yet here he was, standing in her office doorway. Lucas looked like a ghost of himself. His eyes were rimmed with red, his skin pale as death, and his hands trembled like leaves in the wind. He hesitated before stepping in, his presence a mix of desperation and dread. "Good morning, Lucas," Sasha greeted, masking her concern. "My name is Sasha Jones. Your file mentions severe night terrors. Would you like to tell me more about them?" Lucas lowered himself into the chair with a groan, his haunted eyes locking onto hers. "Miss Jones," he began, his voice cracked and hoarse, "have you ever been afraid to dream?" Sasha maintained her professional poise, though his question sent a shiver through her. Dreams often reflect our subconscious fears and desires. While unsettling, they're just creations of the mind. Lucas let out a hollow laugh, shaking his head. What if they're not just dreams? What if they're real? The room seemed to darken. Sasha leaned forward. "What exactly do you mean, Lucas?" He hesitated, his gaze darting to the door as though fearing someone might be listening. "My night terrors, they've come to life." Sasha's pen hovered over her notepad. She'd encountered delusions before, but something about Lucas' demeanor unnerved her. "Lucas," she said gently, "it's not uncommon for sleep deprivation to cause hallucinations. Perhaps we should consider some psychological testing." He slammed his hands onto his knees, the sharp sound making her flinch. "I'm not hallucinating," he snapped. "You don't believe me, do you?" "I'm here to help," Sasha assured him. "But I need to understand what's happening. Can you explain how these night terrors came to life?" Lucas leaned forward, his voice dropping to a whisper. "I trapped it. In my basement. If you don't believe me, come to my house tomorrow night. I'll show you." Sasha's skepticism wrestled with her sense of duty. If Lucas truly believed he had captured his night terror, there was a chance he'd harmed someone in a delusional state. She couldn't ignore the possibility. The next evening, Sasha drove to Lucas' address, her unease growing with each passing mile. The house sat at the end of a cul-de-sac, its windows dark and uninviting. Lucas stood in the driveway, looking as exhausted as ever. "Did you get any sleep?" she asked. "A little," he muttered. "A few minutes don't count," she scolded, following him inside. As they descended into the basement, she discreetly pressed the record button on her phone. Lucas opened the door to a dimly lit room. At its center sat a man tied to a wooden chair, his head slumped forward. Sasha instinctively stepped toward him, but Lucas grabbed her arm. "Don't get too close," he warned. A low chuckle echoed through the room. The man lifted his head, revealing a grin far too wide for his face. His eyes, devoid of color, locked onto Sasha. "Welcome, Miss Jones," he said, his voice unnaturally smooth. "I'd shake your hand, but as you can see, I'm a bit tied up." Sasha's pulse quickened as an inexplicable fear gripped her. "Lucas," she whispered, "who is this?" "I told you," Lucas replied, his voice trembling. "It's my night terror." "And you're just going to sit there and let her believe you?" the man, or creature, taunted. "Oh, Miss Jones, you humans are so delightfully naive. Why are you here?" Sasha demanded, forcing herself to meet the creature's gaze. "Ah, an excellent question," it purred. I'm here to take Lucas' place. It's rare for an opportunity like this to arise, where I can slip into the waking world. Take his place? Sasha echoed, her throat dry. And where would Lucas go? The creature's grin widened. Oh, you're clever. Why don't you find out for yourself? Untie me and shake my hand. Lucas grabbed Sasha's shoulder. Don't listen to him. But curiosity gnawed at her. Against her better judgment, she stepped closer to the creature. Good, it cooed. You're curious. That's how it always starts. Who are you? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I go by many names, it said. But you may call me Alp. Sasha froze. Alp. The name conjured memories of folklore she'd read in college, a malevolent spirit said to feed on nightmares. But legends were just stories, weren't they? Yet here I am, Alp said, as though reading her thoughts. A living, breathing nightmare. Suddenly, Alp broke free from his restraints. Sasha screamed as Lucas shoved her aside, placing himself between her and the creature. You won't have her. Lucas yelled. Oh, Lucas, Alp sneered. You're already mine. Before Sasha could react, Alp lunged. The last thing she saw was his gleaming teeth before darkness consumed her. When Sasha awoke, she was alone. The basement was empty, save for the chair where Alp had been tied. Trembling, she stumbled upstairs, calling Lucas' name, but the house was silent. On the kitchen table lay a note. It's been a pleasure, Miss Jones. Lucas is finally at rest, and I've moved on to find a new host. Sweet dreams. The paper slipped from her fingers as an icy dread settled over her. She wasn't safe. No one was. And somewhere, in the depths of her mind, a sinister laugh echoed. Far away, a new victim stirred in their sleep, unaware of the nightmare that awaited. Alp's hunger was insatiable, and his game was far from over. For as long as humans dreamed, nightmares would breathe,